taking our program live at saka walang no commercial breaks. Yes. And of course, hindi maganda, it's not good to be man to be alone, 'di ba? Parang gano'n. So, for this evening I have my co-host. Let's all welcome Chill.
Ayan. Good evening, partner. Okay, good evening, brothers and sisters. So, welcome to our talk show.
Yan.
Alright, so yan. Yung mga guests natin were already introduced by Mike. So, I think we should welcome them here in front. Ayon. So, kamusta naman dyan? Kamusta yung ulan sa labas? Ayun, di ba grabe, sobrang binabagyo na tayo, pero we are so privileged na, ayun, na paunlakan pa rin yung invitation natin ng mga guests natin.
Yes, of course. Sabi ko kanina, Chill, mahirap pumunta dito. But yet, our speakers, our brothers and sisters, they honor their commitment to be here tonight and join us for our talk show and state of life.
Yes, partner. Okay, so I think yung mga guests natin, ay, ating audience, yes, they're very excited na makapulot ng mga insights from our guests in different states of life. So maybe for now, yeah, let's start with a question. Kamusta kayo ngayon with your present state of life? So maybe just in one word or one phrase, how are you? Yes, Father Marty.
By seniority ba to? Well, in a word or a phrase, as they say, I'm good. No? I am, through the grace of God, I'm most happy to be a priest at present.
Yes, thank you, Father Marty. How about you, Brother Egay?
I always say this, no, even in the start nung sa discernment, with just one word, happy. Yeah.
Bakit yun? Paano yun? Ako naman, first word that came to my mind nung sinabi mo yung tanong na yan, I'm thrilled. It's a thriller. Hindi. Thrilled.
Okay, so later maybe we can hear about that. Why thrill?
Yes, very deep word, profound, thrilled.
Okay, Brother Francis.
Ako malungkot. Sobered and flourishing.
Sober.
So, yeah, so I guess unahin na natin, bakit sober, Brother Francis?
Sobered.
Sober. Nalasing ba, bro?
Kasi yung state of life, ano na ba? You get into it excited, no? Sa umpisa. And as you live it, over the years, you see that there are challenges and there are things that don't exactly come according to your expectations. So you're sobered. But in your sobriety, ang second word ko dito, flourishing. So you flourish. Nagbo-bloom.
Yun. Okay, tingnan naman natin, di ba?
So, yeah,
Flourishing talaga
yes.
si Brother Frank.
You talk about expectation, Brother Francis. So, yeah, when you were deciding then, what were your expectations in your state of life of being single? That's the one you chose, right?
Oh, accidentally. Kasi naman, wala naman akong inisip na ganito dati. Walang lingkod, there was nobody to help me figure out my life and stuff like that. No? But before anything else, ayokong matawag na single blessedness. Medyo presumptuous yun, parang blessed ka, no? So lahat naman tayo ito blessed, di ba? And we're all single here, except the two of them. So we're all single blessed. Di ba? Anyway, ano nga may tanong mo?
So, like,
Expectations.
what were your expectations?
Wala akong expectations because when I went through this, it was more like, parang ganito, I met the Lord, and He grabbed my heart, and what I wanted to do was to give my life to Him. And I didn't care about what my state of life was. I guess what I cared about was the state of my heart. That's more important than your civil status. Kung pag-usapan yung state of life is civil status, married or single, I don't think God cares about that. I think what God cares about is the state of your heart, whether you're single or you're married. So at that time, I was just excited about giving my life to God, no? And for some reason or other, He led me to a group of brothers And that's where I saw what it meant to give my life radically to Him. So doon na magsimula yun. Pero walang ma-expectation, maging ganito ako, kasi hindi ko naman alam yun eh. But the Lord over time would show me His ways. So one step at a time, and then you give your life to the extent that He gives you the grace to respond.
I like that, partner.
Yes,
What
of
is it?
course.
The state of the heart.
Yeah,
So it's
sabi
not
nga na-
actually the state of life, but the state of heart.
Yes. And sabi nga ni Brother Frank, it's not something you discovered right away. It's something that you know along the way. Diba? So, briefly, we're talking about the process. Siguro, we could also ask our guests, what steps did they took leading into their decision? Or what are the steps they made before properly taking that direction they are having now? Let's start with Father.
Yeah, Father Marty.
The question of what steps I took, parang mahirap yung tanong na yan sa akin because I didn't have the luxury of, let's say, what most of you have now. No, I've seen that a bit. No, yung state of life. No, it's really a process. It's sort of structured. In my case, walang ganun. No? I guess I can also tell a bit of my story. Bit lang, okay? I entered the seminary right after grade 6. So, sa bagay, oo nga. I've been with Don Bosco ever since before the age of reason pa yata, no? So, it sort of fell like that, no? As para bang the most normal thing to do, no? Marami rin kaming actoring pumasok, no? Masaya and all that kind of thing. So, besides yun na nga, right after grade 6, I was how old? 12, 13 years old. What does a 13-year-old boy know about the priesthood nga naman, di ba? That was, more or less, that was there. I have a kuya, 2 years ahead of me. He also entered eventually. He left. He's a lawyer. He's married now. No, I was the one who stuck it out. So, ang hirap i-categorize in my particular case, no, how as if God, yun na nga, no, worked, no, in me, in calling me.
But Father, yeah, so it's like, sorry, Father. Because it's like, yeah, follow-up question. Kasi so you entered the seminary like 13 years old. Like, didn't you, because sometimes, because I watched interview with Michael Jackson, it's like, so yung life niya kasi, young pa lang, nasa, ano na siya, so singing naman. So in your case, nasa seminary na. So parang sometimes, didn't you wish na nasa, let's say, outside world ka?
Along the way, it will occur to you, of course. It's a very normal occurrence. No? Kasi kung ganun nga yung parang yung circumstances ng pagpasok, so along the way, dun nagdi-deepen. And part ng deepening process, no, a greater awareness of it, sabi ko nga, ano ba naman ang alam ng isang 13-year-old about the priesthood? But yun na nga, along the way, it comes, no? And kasama dun sa deepening na yun, yung mga ganong klaseng thoughts din, yes. No? You weigh things out along the way. And at the same time, kung talagang yun naman ang tawag sa ni Lord, dun lalo pang napapatibay.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Yeah, how about you,
Yan sa akin na, sige. Well, I'd like to thank the community, especially yung Lingkod, no, for you're asking about the steps, no, before
Like, yes, the process.
yun
How
yung
did you
yes.
discern about it?
I'd like to give you a background there. Before I made my decision to into this state of life, dati, gusto ko rin magpare. Yan. Pero that was a long time ago, mga elementary days ko yun, because my brother is an ex-seminarian.
May mas
And then-
magandang calling.
Yan. And then, malakas ang hatak. And then, I grew up surrounding by priest. Kasi I used to serve in Don Bosco, Mandaluyong. No, 5 years old, 6 years old, na ako Nagna-Knights of the Altar na ako. So, and then, talagang everyday nasa Don Bosco ako. And then somehow I get attracted to priesthood. But then when I entered nung high school, I was introduced to a couples, yung mga maraming couples na mga friends, no? And then I started to parang ma-attract to the family life kasi I saw them on how they live their lives as a husband and wife, and how they took care of their children. And then dun yung time na medyo naging open ako to that. No, although I did not pursue investigating yung priesthood, when I learned that my brother parang nag-exit siya sa seminary, and then yun nga, nagkaroon din siya ng wife, and I had two children. No, and then ang sabi ko doon, siguro why not open to both. And then until the time that I entered the Lingkod. And then I believe most of you attended the course in Christian sexuality course, and I followed that to started to draft my essentials and preferences, and then I started to move around, investigate, and sort of like that, and then all the
investigated
first thing.
Tessa.
No, I believe. And then I started to every year I attended the Christian sexuality course. Nagkaroon ako ng masteral sa before I kumbaga parang yun nga. I started to seriously to discern more about that yung married life.
Akala ko yung sinasabi niya kanina, I started to enter Lingkod and attracted to Tessa. Yun. Pero yun, yeah. Sister Tessa, so can you discuss briefly yung how did your love story began?
Wow, okay.
So, yeah, it's like how a guy get attracted to
In
you.
short, how did,
Yeah.
what did Brother
So,
Ed,
his story, her story yan. Ayan. So,
Kinikilig na ako dito.
okay. Sige. So, buti na lang, di ba, naliwanagan siya na hindi siya for priesthood. Ganun for priesthood. So, anyway, paano ba? Actually, he started with, bale, ito yung love story namin, no? Love story. Short lang. Baka maya hanggang bukas na tayo dito. Hindi. So, he started in attending and then serving at Lingkod, Green Hills. Okay, so, and then, after, nung nagkaroon ng mission team for Lingkod, Manila, so kasama siya doon sa, mission team na yon. Ako naman, I grew up in a community where my parents got involved in, which is Ligayan ng Panginoon. So, mahabang storya pa yun. Pero, when I was already a single, when already I was a single dun sa Ligayan ng Panginoon, by then, I took up training in PGH. Okay, in PGH, yan. Patapos, when I was, nung nag-residency ako sa PGH, sinabi na meron ng Lingkod, Manila. Ayun. Back then, I couldn't regularly attend already to Ligaya activities. Not as regular as I would want to. So what happened was, by virtue of convenience, ganyan, or proximity, I got to be involved with Lingkod, Manila. At the start, hindi masyadong regular because of duties. Yan, as a doctor, I was training in family medicine. And then, hanggang sa, and also, back then, I was also in a relationship. Ayun, okay. I was also in a Ayun. I was in a...
Intrigue?
I was in a relationship. Tapos, pero actually, it's been some time mula nung nag-start ako sa PGH na medyo mahirap. Naging mahirap na yung yung road na yun. So when nang nag-discern ganyan hanggang sa mahirap yun. So we cut off the relationship. And then after that, I got to be more involved with Lingkod Manila. I started first with the service sa music ministry. Ayun. And that was when I got to know Egay more. Ganun. Tapos, ano to, although hindi siya yung love at first sight na tipong ano na yung wow, yan. Although ngayon tuwing umaga parang love at first gano'n eh. Ayun. Ano, siguro okay na yun. Oo.
Yes. Yeah, I think okay na yun. Tapos, yun, sobrang kitang-kita yung joy sa kanilang dalawa as
Of course.
couple. Yeah, as husband and wife. Pero, kita-kita rin na how joyful
Yes.
Brother Francis
Flourishing
is.
actually, diba?
So,
Flourishing. Flourishing,
Yes.
diba? Ayun.
so yun. So, Brother Francis, can you tell us more? What are the joys of your state of life as single?
Pains muna, pains.
Okay. Why not?
Wait.
Maraming challenges dyan eh.
Okay.
Bago sa joy.
Yes.
Sige, joys. Siguro, first is the joy of undistracted prayer and the joy of undistracted service. Wala akong iniisip na asawa na pagsiserve. Wala akong pakialam eh. At pag nagdadasal ka, talaga solo mo, Panginoon, parang ganyan. And there's nothing to prevent you from lengthening your time of prayer, wala kang inaasakasong bata, naiiyak, or something like that. So that's the joy of being solely for God. You know what I mean? I am solo Diyos basta. God alone is enough. So that's all you have. So that's a joy. Well, it can be a pain if you're really looking for ka-holding hands. Which is true. Kung harap mo ka-holding hands, walang panaba ang Panginoon dyan dahil hindi mo nakikita ang Diyos eh. Di ba? Pero kung may babae kang katabi, yun nakikita mo yun. That's why I think somebody who lives single for the Lord, a priest or a nun, is the more passionate in terms of loving. Because he can love someone who he cannot even see. Ano pa? The joy of living with brothers. Si Egay, tsaka si Tessa, the joy of living with one person. Nagkasya na silang dalawa. Doon, masaya na silang dalawa. Ako, I live with a group of brothers. Actually, challenge din yon kasi mas marami kang pinakikisamahan. Iba-ibang nationality, may Chinese doon, may ganito, may ganyan. Si Jake, Chinese. So, iba-ibang mga personalities, di ba? And you live very closely. So, kaya nga sinabi ko sobering kasi over the years, habang tumatanda ka, you know, siyempre, marami kayo ng mga nakikita. No? And that's true with them, with husband and wife. As they grow together, in living together, they see a lot of things that they didn't see before. So, ganun din ako. But it's a joy because if you've been to summer households before, brothers who've lived in that kind of a situation, then you know what I'm trying to say. No? I'm sure that's true also with Father Marty, living with his confreres. So yun, those are the joys. But the joys are also the same challenges. Yun din ang challenges. For example, the joy of praying. Sometimes you're alone. So, wala kang nakikita dyan eh. A human being sensual, may senses yan. So, how can you live passionately for something or someone na hindi mo nakikita, hindi mo nafe-feel, God must be very real to you in order to enjoy this life. In fact, when somebody was asking me, ang sagot ko lang sa kanya well, God is so real to me. He's more real to me than you standing in front of me here. It has to be like that. As otherwise, your love has no object and therefore meaningless. So, yun.
Pero yun, Brother Francis, so ituloy niyo na. So, di ba nga, nasabi niyo there are challenges na hinaharap din kayo. So, how do you face those difficulties, those challenges?
Eh di face to face. You have many helps. Marami kang kasama dyan. But first of all, like all priests would say this, no? It's from scriptures. Everything is grace. So when you encounter challenges, that vocation that you have decided to live, you have to seek the grace for that every day. You know, the challenge of being lonely, for example. Kasi naghanap ka kung minsan na lalaki ka, naghanap ka rin ng affirmation, ng encouragement that only a woman can give, the emotional support only a woman can give. Hinahanap mo din yan eh. So, pwede mong hanapin sa mga brothers, pero hindi man mga babae yun. No? Isipin mo, example lang ha, magpupunta kami ng mission trip. Pag nag-mission trip, kasi nung minsan may isang kaming bisita, may asawa na tumira sa bahay namin. He's from India. And every day, he would call his wife. Kasi first time niyang nawala sa India. So he was here for a conference for 5 days. He would call his wife, he would cry, you know, he misses his kid, he misses his wife. Titingnan na kami dalawa ni Raul. Kailan niyo si Raul Roncal? Sabi niya, Brother Francis, pag tayo nag-mission trip, sabi niya, hindi mo naman namimiss si Jake. Hindi mo naman namimiss si ganito. Hindi mo naman iiyakan dahil, you know what I mean? So, yun. How do you deal with those kinds of things? Well, the Lord has to give you the grace for that. In the same way that God is to give Egay the grace to be faithful to Tessa. Kasi ganun din naman yun eh. So, that has to be very real. So, apart from that, that's God. No? But there are also human supports. So, there are your brothers who can help you. So, for example, in our case, siyempre, may isang tanong nga dito, do you still feel attracted to the opposite sex? Of course. I mean, hindi naman kami biglang, porket na nagpari ka o nagsigal for the Lord ka, automatic nawawala yung mga desires na gano'n. Tao rin naman kami. Di ba?
Actually, yeah. Si Father Marty nga, nag-agree. So
Oo.
siguro meron din siyang gustong i-share. Yeah.
Sige, Father. Tell it to them.
Kasi by the way, if I may sort of, hindi naman plug in, no, pero that's one thing we share in common. I'm also a religious, aside from being a priest. No, for example, he said something about living together, no, with brothers, no, so in community life. Also, we have that. Sa priesthood kasi meron din yung diocesan o yung secular priesthood. Well, for the most part, yun nga, they live alone practically. They are attached to a diocese, they are under a bishop. Hindi kami yon. We are in a religious congregation. So, kumbaga, on 2 counts, siguro na rin ang presence ko tonight, no? And that's something we share in common with Francis. Yun nga, no, yung main question, joys and challenges. Yeah. Bukod dun sa mga sinabi na rin, kumbaga, one major challenge is fidelity, no? Which is, kumbaga, yun na rin yung pag-face doon. It's not really so much, kumbaga, yung sa paradigm, yung sa pananaw mo doon, as if ikaw yung kailangan manatiling tapat, no? Kumbaga, fighting all temptations, that kind of thing. Totoo rin yun. Hindi nawawala yun, and as was said na rin naman. Pero it's really anchored on the fidelity of God, no? Who is really the faithful one. So kumbaga i-shift mo lang yung focus rather than sa sarili mo lang, no, yun tuloy ang labas, ang negative ba, no, yung ganon. Pero it's God who has called you in the first place. So He will be the one to really help you out pa nga and give you the grace you need. Doon na rin yung joy, if I may just add, no, yung joy, kumbaga the joy that you're in the right place, no, you're doing God's will. Ang hirap, I can just imagine the misery kung halimbawa tinatawag ka ni God and let's say ayaw mo o you'd rather keep it to yourself or pursue another pathway in life and so on, we end up miserable kung ganun eh. I'm very grateful to God because in a way, nag-swak, no? Nag-dovetail talaga, no? Kumbaga yung heart's desire ko, tapos yung calling ni God. So, yun nga madalas ang isang karakteristik ng aking vocation story as we are always asked to share it. Wala. Zero yan. Hindi kikita sa takilya. Walang kadrama-drama yung story ko talaga. No? Hindi, wala. Kung i-shooting mo yan, gawin mong sine. Kasi, I don't know. That was how God called me and I simply did my part to respond. And it's all His doing. No? I just collaborated with Him for the most part. So, one thing falling after another, no, in place na ganyan. Which doesn't mean to say that there are no trials. Along the way, of course, meron din yun, normal and everything. So, ayun.
Yeah, I'm sure, partner, every time na nata-challenge, yun nga, they just look back to the calling that has been put upon them, di ba?
Yes. At laging si God lang din naman talaga yung
Yun,
sagot, di ba?
yes.
Parang if you are rooted talaga kay
Exactly.
God. So, yun nga, walang state of life na mali. Parang it's
Yes,
always...
exactly. Sabi nga ni Father, nag-swak eh. Di ba? I mean, the calling and the desire was there.
Yeah. So, let's hear from Egay and
Oh, the
Tessa.
couple, you know.
So,
Challenges.
yeah,
Challenges.
joys and
No.
challenges.
Joy, kanina sinabi ko kung anong state nung ako ngayon.
Yes,
Sabi ko,
happy.
happy, di ba? Merong istorya yan eh. In fact, I called Tessa happy.
Wow.
Yan. Para dun sa mga nakaabot sa amin, no, yung istorya namin, like sila Polly, sila Nina. Matanda na yan si Polly eh. Hindi. Actually, bata pa ako, kaya magkakasing edad lang tayo. Yan. So, yung mga nakaabot storya namin, it started, God revealed Tessa during my honoring, that was 10 years ago. Tagal na, no? Honoring ng birthday ko. It was January when God revealed to me a person na tinawagan niya na happy. Kung alam mo bakit nagbusa yan? Kasi meron niyang parang mga letters ng happy birthday. No? Accidentally, no, biglang nawala yung humiwalay yung happy dun sa birthday. Pero but before that, I think you're familiar with yung sa Beatitudes, di ba? Blessed means happy. Right? That was the time that that's the scriptures that I was reading before. But then, yun nga, happy, no? I was just amazed to somehow, I don't know, to confirm about happiness or what about being blessed, no? And then yun sinabi ko doon sa sharing ko noon yung sa na after that na God revealed to me the person na I will call happy. But pero walang face, it's just a name or it's just an alias, parang gano'n na happy. And then, sinabi ng istorya, no, yung
Hindi pa kami magkakilala
Hindi
noon.
pa kami magkakilala noon, no, kasi that year, she started attending around mga July ata or August, no. So that was January. And then, so she entered Lingkod, Manila. Basta ako, alam ko, meron ng parang somehow ni-reveal sa akin si God. And then I was somehow expecting who that happy is. Kasi for a long time, I was parang moving around, investigating, pero wala talaga yung no? Pero but by December, when she started, where she attended parang practice for general intercession ng pag-December kasi it was merong general intercession ng Lingkod no? Dun yung time na umati na siya ng music ministry, tapos nakatabi ko siya during the practice. And then somehow God started to parang why not investigate this sister? Parang somehow like that. I feel like God is telling me, why not investigate? Tapos sabi ko, siya na ba? Yung parating sinasabi ng mga lingkod, di ba? Siya na ba? Di ba? Siya na ba si happy or what? Mga ganyan. So that time I started to investigate. So sabi ko dun sa prayer ko, okay Lord, if you want me to investigate these sisters, give me more time. No, give me more time and opportunities para makilala ko siya. No, para makilala ko siya. And
By then, I was decided on na hindi na pwede yung relationship ko from before. Parang ganon.
Yan.
Actually po, sorry. Actually, I was also there when when your wedding was announced. There's one story na I really remember, parang just connected with the happy kasi ang naaalala ko doon is the word cheese. Kasi parang ano daw, you were taking picture, tapos Tessa was there, and then so as you took the picture, so say cheese, pero at the back of your mind, you're also saying, this is the girl I want to live with. Ganyan. So, yun, parang connected lang with the happy and
Yes,
cheese.
so in fact I was surprised kasi nung merong kinasal na brother and sister na parehong ka-age namin, which is in Cebu, no? So pareho kaming nandoon. So yun yung may mga pictures na ano. So sabi ko, God is giving me opportunity to know this sister kasi I want to investigate more. I want to know more about the sister, and then God is giving me this parang mga opportunity, and then she joined Works of Mercy, which two services that I love is music ministry and then sa Works of Mercy. And then yun yung na sumali siya pareho. So the more time and the more opportunities para makilala ko siya. Yun. So yun yung yung start ng And then mga challenges syempre maraming challenges. In fact, I'll consider yung married life is an adventure, no? But then having this adventure, you need to prepare for that, no? For anything that anything might happen or what. But then you have this plan. When you plan to go to an adventure, or when you plan to go to you still plan. But then you should be prepared for whatever happens dun sa life. So mga challenges, and we talk about it, no? And marami yan maraming nangyayari sa married life. Yan.
Yeah, anything to add, Tessa?
Sige, so kasama sa mga challenges in married life are one is yung the learning to balance the different hats that I have to wear, because I'm a wife, okay, wife of 7 years, 10 months, 7 years, 5 months, and 10 days.
Counting the
Yun.
days.
Tapos, kanina ka lang. Ganun. Tapos, hindi kasi, ayun, anyway, yun. Tapos, yun, mom to our daughters, 6, Hannah, and going for this June, si Eliza. And then, I also work as a doctor. Hindi regular yung schedule ko. Hindi ganun ka-regular. Like, I go to different clinics. I also do wellness lectures in different places. Ganun. Tapos, and then we also attend Ligaya ng community where there are families, where there are couples also. And dito sa Ligaya, we also serve in the as pastoral workers, and also as a music min. Yun.
Yeah, thank you, Doc Tessa. Yun, so since you already go on the practical side of your state of life, so
Why don't we talk about finances, diba? Siyempre, of course, when you decide on a certain direction like being single, or whether it's being single or being married, of course you have to consider things. The most practical concern, which is your finances. So, siguro let's just ask first Brother Frank, how did he consider this practical concern, finances, when he decided on being single?
Wala kaming pera eh. There's nothing to manage. I mean, seriously, when I was working for San Juan de Dios, I didn't see my salary. It all goes to the brotherhood. We live in common, so we don't own anything. I mean, all the brothers have a claim on my shoes, on my pants, and everything else. So we share. But that also means that they take care of me. So, ganun.
Does this in any way, Brother Frank, affect the way you spend your money or hard-earned money, or does this restrict the number of clothes, or probably the way you gonna buy a certain brand of product?
Yes and no. I get an allowance from the brothers for my upkeep, for my lunch, or for food. But that's barely enough. My allowance is, very, very frank, my allowance is 2,000 pesos a month. No? So then I reimburse all my trips, my pamasahe. Clothes, if I need clothes, I tell the brothers, then I buy. But of course, I don't buy excuse me, the signature ones, no? Pero puro signature ang suot ko ngayon. Kasi puro bigay. So, pero pag binigay sa akin, tatanungin ko muna yung mga brothers kung sino may kailangan. Ganon. So, even gifts are in common. So, I don't get anything in that sense. So, if I get a cash gift, I say, this is how I spent it, I give it to the brothers. So, if I get, kaya nga kuminsan yung mga brothers and sisters na nagbibigay ng regalo sa akin, pag birthday, ganyan, lagi tinatanong sa akin, anong gusto mong regalo? Regalo. Pagkain, kasi then I can share to the brothers. Kasi pagka, we have a number of, at least sa brotherhood sa amin, meron kaming certain number of shirts. So we can only have 14 shirts. Kasi ibig sabihin nun, 7 shirts a week. Para pag nilabhan yung isang set, meron ka pa, parang ganyan. 7 weeks, a week's worth of undershirts, etc. 4 pairs of shoes. So every year, we go through our belongings and we purge. Pag sumobra, di bibigay. Kung kailangan mo, di bumili ka. Pag mga ganyan. Pagka may nagbigay ng regalo na shirt, then say, shall I give up one more shirt para naging 14 ka pa rin. Parang ganyan. But see, the concept or the value behind it, brothers and sisters, is that you are cared for commonly. You know, so it's the responsibility of your brothers to take care of you. So it's like it's an expression, first, of our simplicity, of our it's a vow that we have. No? We don't call it poverty kasi di ba kami talaga poor na namamalimos. But simplicity meaning the key word that we have in our covenant or our rule is as much as possible to have less. Parang ganyan. So we sleep on the floor, by decision yon, no? It's not like we have to, but it's our choice to do it, to express our desire and our goal is that God alone is enough. We don't need a lot of decisions. In fact, brothers and sisters, if you go to my room, you can put all my, kung I say, possessions, whatever you call them, in one suitcase, and that's it. So it's easy for us to move around. No? Kasi wala kang dala, literally, wala kang baggage. So, ang nagmamanage ng mga finances, may tinatawag kaming stewards. Ito yung mga namamahala kung anong kailangan mo, kung anong kailangan ng bahay, yung mga ganon. So, we go through our, hindi lang personal possessions, but the things in the house. Do we really, for example, an ongoing discussion we have, ongoing, ibig sabihin, every year, pinag-usapan namin, gadgets. Kailangan ba talaga namin ito, ganyan. No? May cellphone ka, ngayon maraming naka-attach dyan, kailangan ba na talaga namin yan? Dati-dati, 2 years ago, we couldn't have cell phones. And then, pumayag na magkaroon ng cellphone, pero shared. Mga ganyan. Ngayon, pwede lang, isa lang. Ganyan. Kasi may mga protections yun eh. Tsaka yung, how much of the world can you have? So, isa yun sa mga discarded doon. It's just a question of economics. It's a question of the influence of the world, yung the whole area of simplicity, etc. So,
Okay, thank you, Brother Frank. Share ko lang, partner, because I also have the privilege of joining Brother Frank during one of those summer households. And it was really inspiring to also be, to be formed by the way they practice their discipline, especially walang TV sa bahay. That's the thing that I noticed, walang TV. It's because, again, it's one of their philosophy and discipline that in order for them to really form their relationship with one another, they don't need any television, diba? So that's how discipline is there in their formation. So, ayun, brothers and sisters, yung pala, of course, a talk show would never be complete without live audience participation, di ba? So we just like you to know that blank papers are being spread throughout. But if you are bold enough to stand up and ask the question right away with the person, then you could feel free to do so. Yan, may question na agad. Grabe. Okay. But to Brother Francis, do you still sleep on the floor?
Sabi ko lang nun eh.
We did during household, sabi niya. So yun bro, yung question was, do you still sleep on the floor daw?
Oh, obvious ba?
Ayan. So yun, brother.
Nung minsan may bisita sa bahay, open house. So, nagtanong sa akin yung isang nanay na, ano kanya, saan ang kama nyo? Ayan ho, tinatapakan ninyo. Sabi.
Ayun. Is it the same as yours, Father Marty?
There are a number of commonalities, no, kasi ngayon nga, no, yung religious life. Although now I'm really convicted, I realize how much we pale in comparison in terms of the radicality, no. Talagang, yun nga, bukod dun sa mga commonalities, siguro what I can add na lang, no, kasi we have those mechanisms, ganun eh. Ngayon pa, at my present assignment, it's like all of a sudden, although it's my 6th year already as head of our school, no, there in Mandaluyong, I've been thrust forward into that world of budgeting and with all the hearings, no, and so on, all these finances, no, somehow, hindi rin ako, it's not my cup of tea, no, but somehow, crash course na lang, I had to learn it even at this stage so late in my life, no, but anyway, yun, for example, it was mentioned very, very concretely or specifically by Francis. The way we live we still call it with the traditional term, no, yung vow of poverty, no. Yun lang nga, I realize it's a bit tricky because the mechanisms could be there, para bang may mga check and balance yan, and yet you can also skirt around it, no. Sa amin kasi, for instance, ang malaking parabang factor yung mission, yung ministry, yung apostolate. So for instance, if let's say in conscience, no, we even pray on it, on discern, I would need a certain, yun na nga, gadget, and I have one example right now, no. Again, it's a gift, no, pero I realize it can be very, very helpful. I don't know if I'm rationalizing, of course, no, pero for instance, I often use it na rin for my prayer. There's an app for that, no? Or my homilies are also here na rin, no? Whereas before, I love to write pa rin my homilies, no? At least the outlines and so on. Nasa papel lang ng ganyan, nawawala mo. So here it becomes now a handy instrument at the service of the apostolate or of the mission. So siguro ako na rin choice yun. No? I don't really put games here, no? Except one. Parang may concession pa. 4 picks and 1 word lang, yun lang. Yung mga ganun ba? So one has to really discern very well with those criteria which were taught to us for years and years, no? And aware ka dun sa mga, yun na nga, yung mga tricks na yun na pwede ring nira-rationalize mo lang pala and so on. Pero it's always at the service of the mission, no? So yun nga ang parang major criteria doon, no? Especially with the youth pa naman, no? That's the world we go around in, no? And in a way, we are compelled na hindi kami pwedeng maiwanan somehow, no? So again, putting the limits na lang without having to have yung super taas ng memory, no? O kaya the latest, yung mga ganon. Siguro yun na lang, maybe hindi na. Nasa sayo na rin yung maglagay nung ganong mga limits, no? But yun, if it could serve, for example, in evangelization, no? There's so many now, no? Even the Pope insists on the internet and so on. So we try to catch up a bit on that, no? And it has its consequences in the way we live our, finances and everything.
Nakakatawa si Father, no? Talagang techie pa rin. Tapos, pero I like that word. It's always in the service of the mission. Yon. So, how about you, Doc Tessa? Doc, tama. Parang gusto ko sabihin, Doc Egay. Ayun. So, Doc Tessa, and, di ba, especially, yon, Architect Egay, yon. So, yung sa finances nyo rin, di ba? Tapos, especially, I think, more of the finances, yung time nyo lalo na. So, how do you balance your time? yun yan, nasabi kanina ni Doc Tessa, parang you're wearing too many hats.
So, yung finances first, no?
Yes.
Yung sa finances, parang si Francis din yung sa akin, no? I get allowance from Tessa. Ano yan eh, kung ano yung sa akin, sa kanya. Yung sa kanya pa din. Yan. So we have common funds, no? We agree to that, no? Even before, during our marriage discernment, no? We agree that we have common funds. Unlike our other friends, kasi I've known a lot of people, no, especially in our offices na in the work, na kanya-kanya sila ng funds. Ikaw bahala dito, ako bahala diyan, na ganyan. Pero but then we agree to have common funds. Kaya yung sa akin, sa kanya, siya ang finance controller namin eh. Yan. So every day, humingi ako sa kanya ng baon. So pag walang pera, pinapabaunan niya ako ng lunch. Na ganun. So ganun. So but then, we plan together. No? We have common funds. She's holding yung funds, but then we plan together kung paano namin i-spend at kung saan namin dadalhin yung pera. If we were going to buy something, pinag-uusapan namin 'yan. We practice yung needs tsaka yung wants eh. No? So if we think that we need that, bibili namin. Pero kung want lang 'yan or parang lang, sort of for pleasure lang or what, mahabang diskusyonan 'yan. Parang ganon. So, meron ba tayong pondo dyan? But then, when it comes to education of our children, hindi na namin yun pinag-uusapan. No? So kaya ang importante sa amin is yung education din ng mga bata. No? And yun nga, no? And we also try to live yung simple life, no? In fact, most of our things and yung mga damit namin, puro gift lang din yan, no? Itong sapatos ko, regalo lang to, pati pantalon ko, ganyan. So, and then, when we don't buy yung masyadong yung mga signature, if ever we will buy, basta kailangan maayos lang kami magdala para mukhang original. Yun. So, I think we learned that from our parents then. And kahit nung nasa Manila pa di ba? Tandaan nyo yun. So, paglalabas tayo, yung mga simpleng kainan lang, di ba? Masaya na tayo sa Chicken Joy, masaya na tayo sa burger na Burger McDo, yung mga ganon. And then basta Burger McDo lang 4 hours na yung discussion doon sa parang ginamit mo lang yung venue. Parang ganon.
Sulit na sulit, Brother Egabe. But yun, partner, siguro it's good to also ask, would you, kabi kanina ni Brother Father Martin, medyo tricky sometimes yung determination of wants and needs. Do you sometimes finding yourself every now and then mistaking want for being a need, or sometimes or you couple would discuss on whether you argue on whether this is a need or what?
Ano? Sige. Hindi. So, siguro, paano ba yun? Yun, nagdi-discuss kami kung kung need nga ba yun or kung want ba yan, ganun. Ang pag sinabi namang want, kasi di ba, kung halimbawa, or want or need, one thing to differentiate, how to differentiate them is, kung halimbawa, mabubuhay ka ba kung wala yan, parang ganun. Or, halimbawa, yun, halimbawa, sira na yung sapatos mo, parang ganyan, di ba? Parang paano ka maglalakad, parang ganyan. So, tapos kung halimbawa, maybe ang isang is, kung magkaiba yung opinion namin, ayun. So, hindi, gusto ko yung magpaano, hindi, kailangan kong ganyan. Kailangan ko ng lipstick, mga ganyan, di ba? So, ang isang key lang dun is not really kung whether to differentiate whether it's a need or a want, but that we arrive at a common answer, or at least we agree to it. Parang ganyan. Ang importante is, nagko-communicate kami so that kung halimbawa na nag-disagree nga kami na yung sabi niya, I want yun, sabi ko, I need ko yun. So, nandun na yung papasok yung compromise or understanding. Parang ganon. At saka as long as May kung mamaya nagdi-discussion kami kung need or want pero hindi naman pala namin hindi makaya ng budget namin. Gano'n, no? So, parang yun.
Ayun.
Actually, to add on that, no, we also reward ourselves, no. So doon pumapasok sometimes yung wants, no. So but then we still parang need to put a budget on that, parang ganon. So kung talagang meron naman na budget for that, no, and we siyempre we work hard for our family. We also need to reward ourselves. Sabi nga nila, dapat i-reward mo rin yung sarili mo eh. So doon pumapasok yung wants. Pero but then discussion pa din actually yon. And then when we agree na to buy that or yung wants na yon, pinag-usapan na namin yung budget na kumbaga parang kailangan mag-aalat ng budget pero hindi yung agad na immediate. So by this day or by this date, ito medyo pwede yan kasi may budget tayo diyan. So, doon namin binibigay yon, parang gano'n.
Yeah, so it's like even buying some simple things, you also have to discern about it. Yun. Actually, I guess, partner, yung mga audience natin ngayon, marami na sila natututunan
Yes, of course.
from the different state of life, being single, married, and priest. Nako, ano ba si Gia? Naisip ko na ba mag-priest? Ayun, or
Yung mga
mag-servant?
nagde-decide na, di ba?
Yeah.
Yes, by now.
So, yun, nakakatawa, napaka-practical din ng mga sinishare nila sa atin.
Naalala ko lang partner kanina. Sabi nga, one of the big difference of getting married, sabi kanina ni Tessa and Ege was what she own or he own is also mine. Parang ganun. Kasi di ba parang conjugal or by default, their property regime is absolute community. Parang medyo trust yun eh.
Yes.
More on the trust yun eh. RA, hindi na. I mean, big consideration because once you enter into married life, parang you also decide that all of your possession will also be her
Yes.
possession. Parang ganun lang.
Pero ito, one thing, I think everybody wonder, if you have the chance to change your state of life, would you change it? Like of all the things that you discussed?
Na-intrigue ako dun sa question eh. Well, I would be doing a great disservice to God if I change my state of life. I'm happy, so I'll never even, it didn't even cross my mind.
It crossed my mind. A lot of times. If I had a chance, no, I wouldn't do that. A commitment is a commitment. There's something immutable about that kind of a commitment, meaning it doesn't change. I might change, no, but the commitment itself doesn't. That's why, di ba, yung siya sabi nung a priest is a priest forever. Anyway, I was asked. Siguro I'll just answer it this way. One of my friends from college, my best friend actually. Barkada kami niyan eh. They're very concerned about me, no. Kasi we graduated from Ateneo and they're all now, big guns. So they have houses, vacation houses in Punta Fuego, yung mga ganyang klase, no. And they were wondering, at tanong sa akin nung kaibigan ko si Eric, sabi niya, Francis, masaya ka ba dyan? Napaisip talaga ako dun, no? Kasi parang, hindi ko man talaga inisip na, it didn't cross my mind to ask that question until that time. And then I said, well, I said, I think this is not a matter of whether I'm happy with my state of life or not. I think it's an issue of whether God is happy with where I am. If God is not happy that I'm single, by all means I'll get married. But if he's happy with where I am now, then I'm happy. So I'm happy. I mean, there are challenges, etc., but I don't think I will change my state of life. It's something I have decided to do. Sabi ni Father Martin Canales, the whole issue of faithfulness, the commitment that you have made. And if you know my life story, I think my life story is more exciting than Father's. Kasi siya laking seminaryo, ako laking mundo eh. So, makulay yung aking istorya. Saka na lang yung another talk show. Yeah. But anyway, so because of that, see, the issue there, brothers and sisters, is pag nakita mo yung mga, ang tawag dyan, yung mga imputed costs, yung mga opportunities lost. Ganyan. Pag nakita mo yan, isa mo, nakita ko yung kapatid ko, may mga anak siya, kaya ko rin magkaroon ng gano'n no? Kita ko yung mga asawa ng mga kabarkada ko, ang gaganda. Kaya ko rin ng gano'n no? So yun, pag nakita mo yun, abay talaga mag-iisip ka. No? That's when sometimes people like me would go through what you call a midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is when at some point in your life, you look back at your decisions, the decisions that you've made that brought you to where you are now. And then you say, mali yata yung ginawa ko nun. But it's too late for you to change. Because yun yung crisis. Nasa midlife ka na eh. Hindi mo na pwedeng baguhin yun. You cannot start all over again. Yun ang nangyayari. Pag may regrets ka. Pero kung wala kang regrets, wala kang crisis. So ang question dyan, may regret ka ba? Kung minsan, makikita mo, sana meron akong kotse, sana may ganito, pero fleeting lahat yun. Kasi in the last analysis, you look at yourself and say, when you made that decision, was it really something that you wanted to do in response to God? Tanongin mo si Egay, tsaka si Tessa, ganun din yan eh. Pag tanda nito, tatanungin nila, dapat si Tessa ba pinangasawa ko? It's true. They go through that crisis. They will ask. But then you go back and say, no, because when I made that decision, Tessa is going to be my wife for the rest of my life. So ganun din. So yun.
Yes, Father.
May I add something, no?
Yes, sir.
Kasi it's a parang related question siguro, which it's unspoken and yet it's a very, it's a reality. Ang gaganda naman sagot namin, siyempre naman, no? Kami ni Pero how do you reconcile that with the fact that there are priests who live, di ba? In my own batch, we were 6 who were ordained, 5 na lang kami ngayon. Okay? I remember, kwento na rin ng konti, no? In the case of one of our priests who also left, okay? Na-dispense naman siya and everything. Now he's married with a daughter na rin. Worried na worried yung isang, Bosconian rin siya, no? Kasi, their wedding was officiated by that priest who eventually left, yung binabanggit ko. So, tinatanong niya, Father, paano ba yan? Ibig sabihin ba niyan, pati rin yung wedding namin, para bang walang bisa na, no? Kasi lumabas yung paring nag-officiate. So anyway, I assured him, don't worry, okay? Pero yon, that's a reality, di ba? You hear it in the news and so on, no? Without even having to go to all these scandal things and so on, no? Kasi if only to use that as an example, no, there are who really left and kumbaga malinis ang paglabas nila. They were dispensed and so on. So how do you reconcile that? No, what does that mean? No? Is it para bang a lack of fidelity on the part of the one who was called and so on? It's hard to really put it in neat categories na ganyan. Kung yung sa mga proseso lang sa church, meron yung tinatawag rin na canon law. So yun, covered kami noon. No? So as I said, may mga no, yung dispensation na tinatawag, no, masalimuot rin yan. Something like the annulment, in other words, no, from the legal point of view. Pero yun, we always say a calling, a vocation is a mystery. No? Especially it's God who's the one calling. So we never can really say, we can never judge at all na si ganito kasi, si ganyan, no? Ang hirap, no? So there is also that element of mystery palagi, no? I guess hindi nawawala yon.
Okay, Father, just a phone-in question, no? Just for you. It's actually for you. Sagutin na rin siguro in relation to that. It says here, Solo Diyos Basta, how will you deal with families of loved ones who may not understand the vocation you have chosen?
Napaisip ako bigla kasi I don't really encounter yung ganyang klaseng situation na ano nga ulit yun? How do you deal with
How do you deal with the families of loved ones? Kung parang family members who have not understand or
who
may
do not understand?
Yeah, yes.
Yun nga kasi they all understand naman, no? I'm grateful at least. Pero kung ganong may mga call it parang opposition or nagtatanong sila or questions, no? Or even objections, you can't just explain it away rin naman eh, di ba? Parang ganun. It's all unique. Yung calling ni God sa bawat isa sa atin, no? Maybe there is the common patutunguhan, ika nga, no? Nagkakaiba na lang sa mga pathways, no? That's one analogy for it, no? Pero I think one has to respect the uniqueness of each, even among us, a priest na lang, when we share our vocation stories, nako, we can go all night long. Kasi although, of course, madalas, ano na yun, no, narinig na namin yan eh, and so on, no, kasi magkakakilala na kami. Pero makikita mo, iba-iba, no? Yes, there may be some common denominators, pero the way God calls you is just as unique as your personality or your personhood and so on eh. So, with that premise, it's like one doesn't have the right, no, to question or to object and so on. No? Kung ganun talaga ang tawag ni God sa'yo, you just have to respect it.
Yes, sir. Brother Frank.
Yung storya ng nanay ko. Sabi ng nanay ko, ba't di ka lang nagpare? Nakapagpamisa ka pa sa akin. Sabi niya yan. Totoo naman, di ba? Kasi brother lang naman ako. Ayan. Dahil din ako nagpare. So, sagot ko ganito. Sabi ko, Nay, bakit yung pinakasalan si tatay? Ang dami niya sinabi, kasi mabait daw, ganyan. So, isang malaking habang listahan. Yun lang ba? Sabi ko. Hindi, marami pa, sabi niya. Yun, sabi ko gano'n. Hindi niyo ma-explain kung bakit niyo pinakasalan si tatay dahil mahal niyo siya. Gano'n din ako kako eh. Minahal ako ng Diyos, dito niya ako minahal. Hindi ko rin ma-explain kung ba't di ako nagpare. Pwede naman, sabi ko gano'n. Tingin ko, may tatanggap naman siguro sa akin, no? Gano'n talaga eh. Tama yung sinabi ni Father. It's unique, no? There's a unique call, and sometimes you cannot really explain that call. Doon ka tinawag. When I was in Ateneo, they were trying to also recruit me sa Jesuits. Hindi nag-click eh. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. So parang ganyan, no? So, sabi ko na lang sa kanya, sabi ko sa nanay ko, alam niyo, na hindi niyo ito maintindihan talaga eh. Sabi ko gano'n. Pero dating ang panahon, no, when we're face to face with God, you'll be proud of what your son has decided to do with his life. So, yun lang.
Okay. So, Brother Frank, siguro this would also, Brother Marty, parang this question na, how would you react to those things na sinasabi ng tao minsan, pag may nakita silang somewhat good-looking na tao, tapos biglang nagpare or nag-single glass sila, tapos biglang, ay sayang, gwapo pa naman, ang ganda pa naman. Si Father.
Natutuwa talaga ako when I saw the questions ahead, no, when I saw the email. Sabi ko na nga ba, tatanungin to eh. Sabi we always get asked those kinds of questions then, which, yun na nga, I just like laugh it off, no. Yun nga, no, para bang unang-una, ano rin eh, in my younger years siguro, I guess tama rin si Francis, no, you become more sober through the years, no. Ilan na nga ba ako? Magti-25 years na rin ako in a couple of years' time as a priest, no, Silver Jubilee, ganyan. We're looking forward to those, ano rin, syempre, no, pang konting inspiration and so on. Pero yun nga, going back, I remember reacting to those kinds of questions before. Hindi naman violently, no, pero unang-una, yun nga, no, yung parang implication doon, nagpari na lang, yun nga, di ba, nilalang lang siya, kala mo kung sino, parang gano'n, no, napapa-react tuloy akong gano'n, no. Pero yun nga eh, it's how do you say, a non-issue, kumbaga, no, kasi yun nga, no, the bottom line, when God calls, He calls, no, talagang, kumbaga, do you mean to say, yung mga para lang sa priesthood, yung mga pangit lang, o yung mga gano'n, o di ba, parang, labo. Anyway.
Ayun. So speaking of, ayan, nagpari na lang, gano'n. So anyway, So, doon naman tayo sa couple. So, there's also a phone-in question. Ito, parang practical advice siguro. Pag may nagustuhan ka na, pero alam mo na di pa ikaw nagdi-discern, or yun, siguro hindi pa nag-SOL, ganyan. Or di ka pa nakakapag-discern kung ano talaga yung state of life mo. So, how would you deal with that? It's like you already like someone, pero hindi ka pa nagdi-discern.
Di, yun. Siguro, mag-discern ka na. Hindi. Ano, if you like, it's not abnormal to not like, it's not abnormal to like someone naman talaga. Di ba? Kasi kaya nga, boy ka or girl ka, ganun. So, it's really part of life. So, ang question lang is yung your state and then your awareness of your readiness, ganyan. So, like for example, naka-help sa akin yung pag-SOL ko, yung pag-discern ko ng nung state of life discernment ako na or ganito na lang para applicable. Like when Egay was already considering to pursue kung yun nga manliligaw or pursue me or investigate more, my AGL asked me. By then, how many months ba yun? 4 months siguro or 5 months na akong break. Ganyan. From the naka-break dun sa relationship. Tapos and then yun, my AGL asked me if I was ready to investigate to another. So, by then, sa akin, I wasn't ready. Parang sinabi ko na I wasn't ready yet. And then, I looked into my, again, I prayed again and looked into my essentials and preferences, ganyan. Of course, hindi naman sinabi sa akin kung sino. Okay? Kung sino yung mag-investigate, ganyan. So, yun, I also had no clue actually. And then, yun, nakatulong sa akin yung pag-pray, yung pag-discern kung ano nga ba yung mga essentials and preferences ko. And then, but actually, if you're in touch with God, ganyan na, yun, you have an active prayer life, ganyan, yung parang sasabihin lang din sa'yo ni God kung ready ka na to pursue or move forward, or meron ka pang mga issues na kailangang i-resolve, ganyan-ganyan. Ayun. Tama ba? Nasagot ko ba yung tanong?
Parang the advice ba is do not do anything yet, parang unless you already discern of your state of life?
Pwede ko sagutin? Ako yung gumawa ng Christian sexuality course eh. Kwento ko lang isang brother. Currently, but there's a brother now from another branch. His name is, never mind. Sabi sa Brother Frank, gusto ko mag-SOL, State of Life Discernment Process. He wants to go through the process. Okay, fine. So in the middle of this thing. And then all of a sudden I hear that he was pursuing this sister. I mean, he was dating already. Sabi ko sa'yo, uy, tigilan mo nga yan, kako. Call a spade a spade. Paano ka mag-SOL, may ka-holding hands? Di ba? How can you make an objective decision? May ka-holding hands ka na, papunta ka na doon. Hindi mo sinasabing, the state of life discernment is a process of discerning what your state of life is. No, you're seeking the Lord about it. And so, to give you self-objectivity, dapat wala ka munang ganon. Wala ka munang ka-relationship. Ngayon, sabi nga ni Tessa, may attractions ka, okay, fine. May attractions ka. Normal naman yun eh. But use the attraction as a piece of information, not something that you work on or you get into. Yeah, you're attracted. Okay, I'm attracted. Period. Do you pursue that? No. Because unless you're really moving forward. O di moving forward ka, be honest to yourself. So otherwise, there's no integrity in your state of life discernment.
Thank you, Brother Frank, for that. Probably one more question for Father Marty and Brother Francis. How will you know if your state of life was brought about by a calling of God or just brought about by simply emotions? or desires. And please differentiate calling from mere emotions.
Yeah, also that is tricky, no? That's why there's this whole business of discernment, which is really in the context of prayer. Kasi yun nga, no? Kung sa emotions lang, one day you're so inspired, you heard a talk or something like that, no? It surely has to be founded on something more, shall we say, stable, no? In a sense, also more rational, para lang mag-complement, hindi lang yung feeling, no? Pero pati rin, yun nga, you think it over, you discuss, no? Yun nga, no? There are guides who are capable and qualified pa nga to enlighten you on things, no? So you have to really verify it, no? And for example, entering a congregation, like in our case, may mga criteria rin. Lalo na ngayon, very rigid ng, so to say, ang screening, no? Kumbaga, you apply for a job, parang gano'n, no? So, God calls you, definitely yes. Lahat naman tayo actually tinatawag, no? Doon lang nagkakaiba. Pero, paano na may mediate yung tawag na yon? It's through the circumstances around you, the people, yun nga, around you, your situations, and so on. So one has to really, in a way, walk the tightrope a bit and try to see. And then, as I said, the discernment process in prayer, kasi that's where mabubusesa natin di ba? Si God yung familiarity with His calling, yung voice, no? Para bang nakatanggap ka ng wala sa directory, sa sa list mo yung kung sino yung taong yon. Sino yan? Hindi mo nabubusesan, no? Yung pala, yung nga, no? Similarly, just to use the analogy, so ganon, it's in prayer where we become more familiar with His voice, na it's a genuine call nga, na hindi lang ako lang pala yan, o whim ko lang, and so on, and that kind of thing So it's para bang, I must have written that once in an article for True North magazine or something, no? It's a dirty process, parang masalimuot, no? Kumbaga, no? There are no shortcuts about it, no? Kaya nga, I appreciate very much the SOL, yung process, no? There is the scripture readings, no? And so on, the questions. And then, importante, meron kang, kumbaga, third party, neutral, na mag-guide sa'yo. Kasi, you cannot really be a judge in your own case, in your own situation, Kailangan i-sound off mo yan, no? Even for us, no, by no means is it a finished business na naging pari ka na, okay na. We continue to have spiritual direction. I go to a sister, madre, I mean, no? Ganon, no? Yung bang, a confessor, iba pa yon. Sometimes you also need a counselor, a psychiatrist, and so on, no? There's a whole army of people to surround you, to accompany you in your journey.
Brother Frank naman.
Siguro, I'll be very simplistic about it. 3 things. Call, your feeling, and your, what you might say, your gift or your capacities. So those 3 things need to be together for you to say, well, this is where I'm being called. So yung una, capacity or your gift, Wari mo, sabi mo, I'm called to be a singer or a dancer. Parang gusto kong maging parang Gary Valenciano. Pinanganak kang 2 kaliwang pa. Medyo mahirap yata yun. No? So doon pa lang, makikita mo. Gusto mo maging misyonaryo sa malayong mga lugar. Sakitin ka. Pagbaba mo sa Africa, sakit ka kagad. Baka hindi mo kaya, hindi ka ginawa para doon. So yon, capacity or your gift. No? Feeling. Importante yung feelings. Importante yung emotion. Ano yung gusto? Desire pala. Let's use the word desire na lang. Gusto mo ba to? Mahirap namang pumunta sa isang bagay na hindi mo gusto. No? For example, kung hindi ni Ege nagustuhan si Tessa, paano magkakaanak yan? Hindi niya gusto. Walang attraction, walang magic. Di ba? Kailangan mo yun Spark. Walang chemistry, yung mga ganyan. Kailangan mo yun. Ganon din sa calling na to. Kailangan gusto mo rin siya. No? Kung wala kang gusto dyan, dapat bigyan ka ng Panginoon ng desire to do that. No? Kung talagang yun ang gusto mong gawin. But the most important thing nga yung calling. At dito ipapasok yung sinabi ni Father Marty. You cannot be just by yourself. You need somebody else to bounce off to that person who you are. No? Kaya kailangan mo ng spiritual direction. A good spiritual director doesn't direct you. A good spiritual director mirrors to you who you are and say, this is who I am. Given who I am, ito yung aking mga options. What suits me? In the same way that he is looking for a suitable partner, I'm looking for a suitable place where I can best love and serve the Lord. So, but that requires an understanding of who you are, your self-knowledge, and so on and so forth. No? So, yun. Yung feeling importante, but it's not the determining factor. No? Desire is also an important thing. So, yun. Kaya pag punta ka ng congregation or a group like ours, it takes years. By the time you make in our case, for example, it takes 8 years. No? From the time you start being what we call an affiliate in the brotherhood, hanggang when you make your lifelong commitment. Siguro naman, after 8 years, taon-taon dinidiscern mo yan, abay sigurado ka na. Actually, hindi pa nga masyado eh. Kasi, nagde-develop ka pa rin eh. You're a dynamic person. You're alive, so you change also. But there's help for you. But to the extent that you can see, at that point where you're going to make your lifelong vow or whatever, parang sila, katulad nila, nung nagpakasal sila, bakit? Sigurado na ba si Egay na she will turn out to be like this? She wouldn't. He wouldn't know that. No? But to the extent that he could have discerned, so many years na magkasama sila, nagdi-discernment sila, etc., alam niya na ito na ngayon. No? Ngayon, apart from that, there's grace to carry that through after the commitment. Yun dapat mong hanapin every day. So, it doesn't just depend on feelings, but then it also depends on what others would say about you. So, kailangan mo nang nag-accompany sa'yo, sabi ni Father.
Yes. I just like to add about, kung yung for me, yung in terms of yung state of life, it's really a calling. Kasi actually, back in high school, I witnessed sa Ligaya ng Panginoon, yung single, sino ba to? Hindi si Beth Melchor, si May Legaspi. Oo, si May Legaspi. I witnessed a wedding of a single sister during yung isang community gathering. Her wedding with God. Ano bang tawag niyo doon? Her vows, final vows. Parang yan, she made her final vows. And sobrang na-attract ako doon. And, or parang pinned me down na sabi ko na, I want that for me. Parang gano'n. Parang nagkaroon ako ng desire. Or, parang gano'n, na-attract ako na, I wanted that for my life also. So, actually, when I made my state of life discernment, sort of, medyo, at the start, naging leaning ako towards I wanted that kind of life, yung being single for the Lord. And doon. Tapos noon, buti na lang at hindi. Tapos, aside from that, may background ako na my mom also was inclined into, started nga na maging, na i-pursue yung pagiging nun. Ganyan. So, may ganyan akong background. Pero yun, it's a calling nga. Kasi during my SOL also, meron doon na stage na where I got to really know more about myself. So dito na papasok yung mga capacities, yung capacity ko, yung strengths ko, yung weaknesses ko, ganun. And that's when I got to appreciate more na I was for married life. Ayun. Yun na.
Yes, thank you so much for all those. Grabe, sobrang ang dami-dami natin natutunan
Yes.
sa kanila, no?
We could also,
Yes.
we may last until morning, but of course, for time constraints, we'll also
Oo
have
nga,
to...
kailangan na natin mag-commercial, partner.
Commercial break.
Ayun.
Masyadong intense, no?
Yes, so maybe just some final words from all of them.
Just to how to go on with the
Yes.
state of life. Or maybe from just words of advice, diba? For our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, just few lines from...
Siguro, yung sa akin is, yung state of life na pinili namin, it's all about your relationship with the Lord. No? On how deep you are, on how close you are to God. I'm not saying that I'm that close to God, but on how you are, parang on how you I mean, I cannot I cannot explain yung relationship ko with God, but then my decisions in my life, I always ask God for that. No? Imagine mo yun, from January to December, I waited for God. I really trust God that God will reveal to me who's not happy na ni-reveal niya for me, di ba? And it's really a calling, no? It is a calling from the Lord. And I believe that sabi nga ni Francis, is the best way that I can serve God, no? Walang tamang vocation, walang maling vocation. Kay priesthood ka or yung single for the Lord or married life. Ako parang ang discernment ko with that is God prepared me for this vocation, yung married life. And this is where I know that I can serve God most, no? And I always believe that God will not put me into this state of life kung hindi niya ako i-guide at kung hindi niya i-bless yung relationship namin or yung marriage namin. And whatever decision that you make, yun nga, nakita ko doon, I was about to, yung naka-flash, I don't know if it's your team, no? That you, whatever you do, or it's also in the Colossians, whatever you always put love on that, no? And yun nga, sabi nga sa Luke 10, di ba? Love the Lord your God, no? With all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind. Yun, whatever you do.
Final words. Pwede bang mag-plug in na ngayon? No? Yung mga interested dyan.
Go ahead, Father.
I can give you my card or like me on Facebook. No? Hindi. I wanted, can I still,
Yes,
no? Last night, yesterday was Father's Day, di ba? I also got a lot of greetings, no? Anyway, fine. But we celebrated, kaming magkakapatid na lang, no? We don't have our parents anymore for quite some time already. We love to eat outside, of course, no, in restaurants. So, nagplano kami. A brother of mine arrived from abroad. And we also invited another family, not the whole one, no, but at least representatives. Mga childhood family friends pa namin. Nakakatuwa to kasi their mother is still alive. She's 82. No, medyo hard of hearing na, naka-wheelchair na, pero gustong-gusto pa rin kumain sa labas. No? And then yung mga anak nila, so yung mga kaibigan namin, kababata namin, no? Puro sila lalaki, puro sila Bosconians din sa Don Bosco, Makati. All of them except one were kicked out for disciplinary problems. No? Anyway, they're all settled in life now. One is an artist and so on. So yung kaisa-isang hindi na-kick out, 5 sila, naging pare. At a very late, second career na nga, he was like a top official in PLDT. He was reporting to Manny Pangilinan, no less, no? And it just dawned on him. He became a priest. And last night we were together nga, no, in a Chinese restaurant. And ang saya, no, kasi you can imagine that mixture kami magkakapatid. May mga sariling mga pamilya na sila. Likewise, yun ding mga kaibigan namin. And then pareho kaming nepare, no, ako at saka then yung kakilala kong kaibigan kong yon. It was so happy because aside from that mix, no, and so on, the different vocations or states of life na nga, no, siguro, ang maganda siguro, and I turn it now into a kind of an advice, no, just to leave with you, let's be open, especially to the workings of the Spirit. Grabe, we can never say how He will call us, no? He can even pull a surprise, even late in life siguro. So, ayun lang, no? How, hindi natin pwedeng ikahon. Si God pa yan, who is so omnipotent and almighty. Di ba? So, ayun lang. If we are open, then pwede nga naman. Di ba? Ang problema, pag sarado ka na, kumbaga, para bang nag-isolate ka na kagad, you already put a limit immediately na eh. No? By default pa lang, parang wala, talo na kumbaga. No? So, ayun, since our God is a God of surprises, no, then let's be ready to be surprised.
Thank you. Well said, brother.
Sige. Ako, at different times siguro of your life, ang magandang itanong lagi ay, how can I best love and serve the Lord now? Parang ganun. Or at this time. How can I love and serve the Lord at this time? So kung halimbawa na habang nag-SOL ka, or even pag kailan ka ba mag-SOL? So, parang kung para malaman mo kung kailan, so sa tanungin mo, how can I love and how can I love and serve God now? Yun, best. Tapos, yun, at different stages in your life, you can ask that. And then, habang tinatanong mo yun, kailangan syempre, 3 things. One is openness. Open, yun parang tinatanong mo nga, pero bingi ka naman, di ba? So, kailangan open ka rin kung ano man yung gusto niyang sabihin sa'yo. And then, courage. Yun, you're not afraid, anxious, ganyan. Kung halimbawa, sinabi sa'yo na for marriage ka, pero asa na ba siya? Asa na ba siya? Mga ganyan, di ba? So, mga ganyan. So, courage and be not afraid, ganyan. And then, faith. So, always have faith in our God that He knows yung best timing and He has the best plan for all of us.
Thank you. Finally, Brother Frank.
Ako tatayo, ah.
Wow.
This is something very close to my heart kasi, living single for the Lord. Nakita niyo ang word na ginagamit namin, living single for the Lord. Kasi kadalasan, pag sinabi mong single ka, i-define nyo nga ano mang single. Yung walang asawa. Di ba? It's a negation, negative. Parang deprived kami. O yung mga single. Kaya parang, sino yung mga single na yan? Yung mga walang asawa. Para bang, ang pag-aasawa, the goal of life. Well, so to say, that's not true. No? Even if they're very happy being married. Sa totoo lang, it's the natural thing to be married. Nasa scriptures yan eh. Ginawa tayo na ang lalaki maging attracted sa babae and vice versa. Nature yon, di ba? And so, to think about living single and not getting married is an abnormality. O, di ba? Abnoy kami. Sa Matthew 19, yun ang sinasabi doon. You know, there are people who who do not get married because of certain things that happen in their life, because of this, because of that. But there's also one category there. They don't get married because they choose not to get married. So it's a choice. Meaning to say there's freedom involved. No? And brothers and sisters, while it is true that the natural thing is for men and women to marry, it is also the case that God gives the grace to certain people for the possibility of living single for Him. Not everybody, but a few or some. Now, therefore, it is our moral duty and obligation to find that out. And not, sabi nga ni Father, not to decide and say, hindi, for marriage ako kasi that's the natural thing to do. That's true. But you didn't even ask whether God has given you the grace. Because He might. I didn't want to live this way. To live single. 3 times I almost got married. Because that's my natural desire. To be married, to have a wife, and to have family and children. The natural thing to do. And yet, God gives grace to certain individuals. And if you are a true and serious disciple, this is a matter of discipleship, then you have to ask the Lord, Lord, what is it for me? So yon, kinakailangan, tanong natin ng Panginoon, are you calling me to live single for you? But if you don't even ask that, of course, you won't hear that. You won't even think about it. Di ba? So, you have a moral obligation as a serious disciple of Christ to find that out. And don't rule that out and say, hindi, pang marriage ako. Second thing, therefore, is then don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to seek that. Don't be afraid to seek God about it. And yung sabi ni Father, be open. So you have to be open. Openness means being free. The freedom to be, Bobby Kitain? Okay, that guy wanted to live single for the Lord. Okay, he really wanted to do that. But during his time of discernment with the brothers, after number of years staying with us, it was very clear that God is calling him to marriage. And he knows that. Pero gusto niya talaga kasi in-equate niya yung living single for the Lord with radical discipleship. In-equate niya yon. So para sa kanya, pag nag-asawa siya, he is less radical. Mali. O tingnan mo siya ngayon. napaka-radical ng tao, may asawa siya. Sa tingin nyo, less radical itong dalawa to kaysa sa aming dalawa ni Father? That's not true. The way they live their lives is very heroic. But the point there, brothers and sisters, is you have to look for that. Yung sabi nga ni Tessa, yung kung saan ka man tawagin, ang goal talaga natin, brothers and sisters, is si Lord. To live single-heartedly for God. Because in the end, after earth, life on earth, up in heaven, nobody has any civil status. All of us are single for the Lord. There's no marriage in heaven. Di ba? Sabi nila, till death do us part. Pag namatay, tapos na yung kasal. Kaya nga pwede mag-asawa ulit eh. Pero pagdating sa langit, lahat tayo single for the Lord. So, what Father Marty and I have done with our lives, literally, these two people also married, are doing it in their hearts. They're also living single for the Lord. So, I'll go back to what I said earlier. So, unang-una pa lang. It's not a question of state of life. It's a question of your state of heart. Okay?
Yes, and
Very
with that,
much,
thank you so much to all our guests.
Yes.
And,
Of course.
ang ganda pa sana ng mga maririnig natin sa kanila,
course.
pero we really have to
Oo.
take a commercial
Of
break.
course. Yeah.
So,
Kailangan na natin, no?
yeah, so thank you so much
Airtime
again,
limit.
Father Marty, Doc Tessa,
And
Architect Egay, and Brother
Brother Frank,
Francis.
of course. Let's give them a hammer and applause.
Yes.
Plus.